I want to start with the night before I had a national debate tournament. And I had a speech to write, and it really wasn't going well. I couldn't focus. And I told my mom this. I said, I can't focus. And she turned to me, maybe a little bit disappointed, maybe just lovingly, and said, you know, Lucas, you've told me this so many times, I think you might just have a problem, an addiction to your phone if you can't focus. And still to this day, I won't admit that I have an addiction to my phone or will ever have one. But I will admit two things. First, that my mom is usually right on most things. And secondly, that I do have a problem with my phone. Goals and tasks I want to achieve, but my phone keeps me distracted from achieving that. A couple months ago, I found out I would be giving a talk on attention and focus, the one you're listening to right now. And what I imagined what would happen was me coming up here tonight, poised and victorious, like one of those heroes at the end of a movie, ready to tell you how I conquered my distractions and how you could too. But unfortunately, I'm not living in a movie, and that didn't happen. I still haven't conquered all of my distractions. Even during Ishita's brilliant speech, I was tempted to bring out my phone and check what was the latest news on Instagram, I guess. But what I do have to share with you today is what I have learned about attention, how we need to view it, how we need to treat it, and ultimately some steps we need to take to change it for the better. I want to start with why attention matters to me. And I think this is the area we all view attention through. It's productivity, it's work, it's things we need to get done, like the essay I have to write this weekend, but I'll probably leave it to Sunday night. But what I think we need to understand about attention, and this is what we understand about it, is it's our ability to focus and get things done. But beyond that, when our attention fails us, it fails our work. It means that the things we wanted to get done today don't get completed. And for me, when that happened, I felt regretful, and I blamed myself when I would sit down to do work, but it didn't get finished. And for some reason, I felt that there was something just wrong with me. But beyond that, the second thing I realized was when my attention degraded, it didn't just harm my well-being on these apps, but also outside of it. And I was sitting in class one day. We were watching a documentary about something. I probably wasn't paying that much attention. But one thing that really struck me was that our phones are like pocket-sized vending machines of dopamine. And at the time, I didn't understand how crucial that was, but now I do. Our phones give us dopamine at the hit of our fingertips. And this matters because dopamine is a system that we got through years and years of evolution that motivates us to do things it thinks will help us survive. But this becomes an issue now because although our systems worked well for us hundreds of thousands of years ago, our world has changed a lot since then. And now it's being hijacked by 60-second TikTok shorts and everything around our world. And you can see the effects of this taking place all over your life. For me, it was all the time, whether I was enjoying time with my friends, whether I was in class, whether I was in this speech like you right now, watching TED Talks. I want to pull out my phone, not even knowing why I want to do it, but just because I have the urge to. And I could see this in my friends as well. Once my friend came to me and they told me they got a new extension for YouTube that allowed them to view videos faster. And at first, I was a little bit confused because I thought YouTube already had a feature that let you play videos faster. So I asked them, why did you need to get this? And their simple response was, YouTube only lets you play videos at 2 times speed. This allows you to play it at 4 times speed. That's how fast I'm going. And this is what led me to realize, is that social media, distractions, and our phones, they make our brains accustomed to a world of 4 times speed. But the reality is that the world and the natural world around us doesn't go in that speed. When we're talking to our parents at dinner, when we're talking to people in real life, we can't put them on 4 times speed when we're bored of what they're talking about. And you can't scroll your finger and click on a new video when the story they're telling you doesn't suffice your attention. And this really mattered to me, because just beyond productivity, our degrading attentions are also hurting the people we love and the conversations we have with them day to day. The last thing that really struck me is what it did to the things I loved. When I was little, I really liked building Lego, to the point where I imagined that when I was older, I dreamed of being a Lego designer. But as the time started to tick up on my phone and the screen time went up, my passion for the things I used to love died out. I no longer looked forward to doing it when I had my free time, but this time was just replaced by going on my phone and mindlessly scrolling on Instagram. And at this point, I was sick of it. I decided I wanted to do something about it and change it. So I started with what I think most of us start doing, just trying to resist our phones, putting them away, and saying we won't be distracted. And unfortunately, this didn't work. So then I started putting on screen limits, putting my phone on Do Not Disturb, getting some apps to help me focus. I had a little bit more success here, but in the end, it also didn't work. I finally got to the stage where I just took out my phone and one by one deleted all the apps on it that distract me. And I said I was going to go 1 week without using these apps to see what would happen. And it was going pretty well. But then on the 4th day, one of my friends came to me. a little bit aggressively, maybe a little bit worried, and they said, "Lucas, why are you ghosting me?" And as it turns out, I haven't had these apps, and I wasn't able to respond to what they wanted. They wanted to talk to me about schoolwork. They wanted to hang out. They wanted to talk about the newest show that I wasn't able to see. And what this taught me was a few things. Firstly, it's that opting out of our distractions is not the solution to solving them. And what I mean by this is, for many of us in this world, and the majority of us here, that just saying no to Instagram and all these apps isn't a viable solution. Because our world right now is built around them. In order to stay connected to our friends, in order to stay informed people in our communities, in order to learn things online, you do need to involve yourself in these apps and use them as a whole. And what this means is change and a solution can't happen by just leaving these apps behind, but change needs to happen in how we use them and how they're designed as a whole. The second thing I learned about attention is that change must come from all of us. And what I mean by this is, as an individual, I used to think attention was all on me, that when I focused and when I couldn't focus, it was just me not trying hard enough. But as I looked beyond myself, I realized this wasn't the whole picture, that the very apps we use every day want us to fail. They want us to stay distracted. YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, I guess it's called Meta now, but I'm going to continue to call it Facebook. They make more money for every time we're on their apps. And as soon as we put our screens down, that's when their bottom line starts to hurt and they lose money. And this presents a problem because we're in a tug of war for our attention. It's us alone against multi-billion-dollar companies that will throw anything at us to take away our attention, whether it be Snapchat streaks or the newest changes in algorithms. And what this means is us as individuals can't just hope and ask for change. We have to band together, all of us in this room, and as a society, to change these apps. The final thing I realized about attention was that we can't take it for granted. It's not something that's absolute. Our attention spans grow and they shrink depending on how we treat it. You can't expect to go focus in your classroom or read a book for extended periods of time if all we've trained our brains to do is to watch YouTube on 4 times speed. So after I learned all of this, I asked myself, what can we do about this? And the first step that became obvious is we need to change how these companies work and how the technology we use every day does. The first solution is pushing these companies towards subscription models. And I think we all have experienced this with streaming platforms like Netflix and Disney. Netflix doesn't make more money by how many shows you watch on their site or stealing your attention for their whole day. But we sign up to Netflix when we see one show we really like, and they pour their budget into making one show that will get us to sign up. And this is a model that doesn't exploit our attention. They don't make more money by showing us more ads or by degrading our very own attention. The second idea here, and what experts propose, is governments buying out these companies, putting them into the public sphere and out of the private capitalist market. And I know this might all sound a little bit drastic, a little bit confusing, but here's why it really, really matters. Because it means for the first time, us as users could demand these apps to be built in the well-being of us and actually design them to support our attention and the world we want to live. So maybe next week, if these changes happen, when we open our app, it would tell us, we could tell it how much time we want to spend on it this week and tell it the goals and things we want to achieve in our life. And it could be designed to actually do this. What might this look like? Maybe on YouTube. YouTube currently recommends videos to me solely based on how long I'll watch them and what will send us on the next rabbit hole and stealing our attention away. But it doesn't have to be this way. Instead, we could design YouTube to do what's best for us. It could recommend videos through the algorithm on what it thinks will motivate us throughout the week. What will keep us engaged people in our communities? And yes, what videos will entertain us, but not entertaining us at the degradation of our attention and hours upon end. So now that I learned this about our attention, there's one other thing that became very clear outside of these apps. We need to start treating our attention like something that we can't take for granted. We need to start thinking about it like something that can diminish if the world around us doesn't support it. And the thing that struck with me most is that the moments that define us as human beings, the moments we will remember and tell our family, aren't the moments we will spend alone in our room on Instagram, scrolling late at night, seeing the time tick by, and wishing we could have that time back. But it's the moments where our attention was there. It's where we're able to persevere through distraction and achieve successes we're truly proud of, when we're able to put aside the distractions because our attention was there. We'll also remember the moments where we felt truly present, like me right now, talking to all of you, where you spent moments with your family and friends, and you didn't have the urge to pull out your phone or check the latest video your favorite creator posted. These are the moments you'll only get when we care about our attention, when we act on it today because we care about it. Lastly, I just want to thank all of you for being here with me today and giving me your attention, as I know it's hard to come by. Today, we need to start talking about our attention like something that really matters, and thank you so much for listening.